This is some breaking news that we're getting with respect to the meeting between the centre and the cab aggregators. Now that meeting has ended and the Consumer Affairs Ministry in fact held a meeting with the cab aggregators today, and the government has asked cab aggregators to put a system in place to resolve the consumer grievances. Now remember, for the last few days people have been complaining about the surge in pricing as well as the random cancellation of car rides that they have been booking. Now the government in fact today held a meeting with these cab aggregators that includes Ola, Uber, Meru, Rapido, Jugnu. All of these were part of the meeting with the central government, and in fact they have been asked to end the unfair trade practices. This is the latest we're getting with respect to the meeting between the central government as well as the cab aggregators. This comes in the backdrop of many complaints of the surge pricing and also the random cancellation of cabs. Hence, the government had decided to meet these cab aggregators that include Ola, Uber, Meru, Rapido as well as Jugnu in order to address these problems. That meeting between the two parties have ended, and we're being given to understand that the government has given strict instructions to these cab aggregators that they have to find a solution and resolve the consumer grievances, which also include allegations of unfair trade practices. And in fact, the government has also told the cab aggregators that if they fail to end these unfair trade practices, they will have to face a penalty. Samir joins us live on the broadcast for more on this. Samir, we were in fact waiting for what comes out of this meeting between the two parties, the government as well as the cab aggregators. And now we understand that the cab aggregators have been told to make sure that, all the consumer grievances are taken care of, they are addressed. What are the details of what was discussed in this meeting?
So this important meeting that went for almost for an hour between the government officials from the Consumer Affairs Ministry as well as with the cab aggregators like Meru Cabs, Ola Cabs, Uber. So these are a couple of big names, those who attended the meeting. But a broader line or the clear message that has been given by the government is that they are unhappy with the mechanism that currently is in place to address the complaints of the consumer, whatever the complaints they have. So whatever mechanism these cab aggregators have that is actually not serving the purpose, and for this the government has clearly said that they need to fix a system that actually addresses the consumer grievance in a speedy manner, provide them justice, uphold the rights of the consumers, and this message has been given in by the Consumer Affairs Ministry. And it has also been mentioned that if such a system is not put in place and the consumer grievances continues to come up in big number, then government will take strict action, and it is likely to penalize the cab aggregators as well. So this was an important meeting, and if you go in the backdrop, actually the government or specifically the Consumer Affairs Ministry has been receiving a lot of complaints against these cab aggregators, alleging that they are indulging into unfair trade practices. There were complaints like the fare cancellation is not, it is inappropriate, the fare charges are inappropriate. So these sort of complaints were there, and because of which government held a very important meeting, and that clear message is that they have to fix a system to address the consumer grievances, and if it is not done so, then severe penalty will be imposed on the cab aggregators.
Samir, while the government has, made their stand clear that they're unhappy with what's happening, and they have been, the cab aggregators have been told that action needs to be taken, but is there, the modalities of how, these things will be addressed, what sort of penalty are we looking at? Is there a time-bound investigation? Will this be, some certain deadline that has been given to the cab aggregators to fix this issue?
Definitely valid question, because after this meeting, what we are getting to know from our sources that now the cab aggregators, those who all attended the meeting, they have to respond to government queries. They have to respond. They have to come up with a proper system, and for this, firstly they have to answer the questions that have been raised by the ministry officials. So it is likely that in next 30 days, the answers will be submitted by these cab aggregators, and then maybe in 3 to 6 months, of such mechanism has to be put in place by the cab aggregators, wherein if any sort of complaint that is not addressed within 24 to 48 hours, then some strict action might be taken. But what sort of action will be taken, or what is going to be the penalty, that still has to be sorted out, or it has to be fixed. But yes, government is in strict mood. Government wants that these cab aggregators needs to be regulated properly, and for which this important meeting was called upon, and the message has been given in by the Consumer Affairs Ministry.
All right, Sameer, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast with all those details.